Hey friends, Monday you heard a bit about two of the three ingredients necessary for growth: grace and truth. The key to successful living is where these two things collide. Following the truth is a quest we should all be on for our entire lifetime. Extending grace to ourselves and others makes us compassionate and allows us to heal. Grace and truth, the perfect storm. We've got one more ingredient to throw into the mix today: time. The third ingredient necessary for growth. Now, you've all heard things like time heals all wounds, and by the way, I don't buy it. But you've heard it'll get better with time. Dr. Cloud explains it a little bit different. He talks in his book, Changes That Heal, about there being good time and bad time. Good time is where grace and truth are present. We move through good time and we grow and mature and heal. Bad time is where grace and truth are not present. And although we're moving through time, we're actually stuck there emotionally. Sometimes we pass through time and get better. Sometimes we pass through time and we do not get better. Let me give you a couple of examples. Many of you know that my husband is an attorney in Clark County's drug court program. One of the very first things he learned over 20 years ago when he started in the program is that a person's emotional age stagnates at the age they start using drugs or drinking alcohol. Emotional age is fluid and adjustable, unlike physical age, which advances in a predictable way over time. Dr. Cloud is referring to that emotional age. People with drug and alcohol addiction often hold on to less mature ideas and behaviors that don't enhance their life. For many addicts, deep emotional pain often stemmed from childhood. When they use drugs or alcohol to cope with these problems, they stunt their emotional growth at that spot where they start using. Grace and truth are absent. If a 30-year-old man started using drugs at the age of 15, most people would probably agree that he acts much like a rebellious teenager, despite his true age. They may float around living on friends' couches, never have money for long, have trouble keeping a job, struggle in relationships. Instead of absorbing the wisdom, the truth from his decisions and his mistakes, he spent the last 15 years blocking out reality with his drug abuse. He's mostly used his understanding of the world from the age of 15 because that's when he started learning to survive. And when someone lives to survive, emotional growth gets knocked down. It's not a priority anymore. Their emotional development stops at the age they begin to escape life through substance abuse. Another example of bad time versus good time is my story. When an aspect of your personality is taken out of good time, again, time where grace and truth are present, you stagnate at that time emotionally. I was 13 years old when my mom left. I was immediately thrown into an adult world, skipping aspects of myself as an adolescent. I, in essence, took myself out of adolescence, out of good time. Or you could say I was pushed out of my adolescence, out of good time. Dr. Cloud calls it going underground. until I learned to call myself back into good time, where grace and truth affected me, affected that part of my personality. I acted out in areas of my life like someone who had missed out on those years of development. More on how I did that later. Whether you experienced trauma, or you were abandoned, had emotionally absent parents, or had abusive siblings, without even knowing it, you were pushed out of time, out of good time, into a place where grace and truth could not mature you. One cannot grow where one no longer participates in life. And for many of us, we skipped or jumped or were pushed out of time. We moved through time, yes, but we didn't move through good time with grace and truth as our companions. We did not participate in life fully with grace, truth, and time. Now, if I left you here without giving you page 2 of the story, you might feel a little hopeless. But the part of the story that's so amazing is time can be redeemed. Dr. Cloud talks about time being experience. And he says there's nothing sacred about the first time around. Now, Barry and I have had lots of conversations about that one sentence. There's nothing sacred about the first time around. And we've determined that there really is something really beautiful and sacred about the first time around. Because, of course, I needed my mom to stay. Of course, it would have been better if you hadn't started using drugs. Of course, it would have been better if you hadn't experienced trauma in your life. That time would have been joined together with grace and truth the first time around. That would have been truly sacred. But the hope Dr. Cloud is helping us to see is we can choose to experience time with grace and truth and redeem what was lost any time we want to. I know I've done it. And I'm almost done writing my book about it. My working title, The Year I Redeemed My Adolescence. More on that story later too. This book, Changes That Heal, was the catalyst for my redemption. It was the springboard for me choosing to redeem my adolescence. I'll share more in another week about how I went about doing that. And hopefully my book will be shared sometime soon too. But all I can say to you today, friends, is this. We can create good time. We can take back what was lost. We can join time with grace and truth and experience healing that is sacred now. When we allow grace to minister healing to ourselves, and we follow through and dedicate ourselves to self-control, truth, and then we add those things together with time, we heal. And why do we need to heal? Why does it matter that we do this hard work? So that we can walk out a life of emotional wellness that affects everything we do, how we care for ourselves and how we care for others. If you have behavior that is not serving you, there is a reason for that. Grace, truth, and time can heal you and grow you up to be a loving and emotionally mature adult. Isn't that what we all want? Time, the third ingredient, the one that you can choose to experience no matter how it might have been taken from you. Trust me on this one. Trust me on this one. It can and will be sacred the second time around.